Hi, and welcome to the ColorWorkYarn podcast. My name is Allison. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is a podcast about my knitting adventures, my hand-dyeing yarn adventures, my general mayhem, and craftiness. So I hope you enjoy, and I am available for friendship on Instagram and Ravelry. My username is ColorWorkYarn on both places. I also have a Ravelry group called the ColorWorkYarn podcast, when there are a few forums there with knit-alongs and question threads and the show notes as well. So I'll link to everything that I mention here down below. I would love to meet you and connect with you. So let's dive into it. I have one finished object to share with you, and actually this is a you didn't even see this as a work in progress, so it's a pretty quick project. It's a hat, and ding, 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 ding. It's called the Windschief hat by Stephen West, believe it or not. This is one of his early designs before he became his wild speckliness that he is today. And I'm struggling to show this to you because it kind of lays funny when it's not on a head. But it has a awesome 1x1 twisted rib beginning that goes all the way around the hat. And then the back is just kind of a plain stockinette. But this 1x1 twisted rib continues up the hat and kind of swirls around to the side. So I'll put it on so you can see it on. This is not for me, so it's not the most flattering hat on me. But I think it's really cute. So you can see how the twist, it kind of just swirls together. And this twisted rib kind of continues all the way up the hat. I think it looks cuter too when you have the twisted rib like off to the side. More like that. That way you can get the twisted rib section and then the stockinette section as well. So as I said, this hat is not for me. It's for my nephew, who does not have long curly hair. He has short curly hair. This is not really a noteworthy yarn. I picked it up from the local craft store. It is 100% superwash wool, so it will be easy care for my 14-year-old nephew. Not that I imagine he will be doing a lot of his own laundry, but just in case. So yeah, it was a really quick knit. I worked it up on size 7 US needles and used a 16-inch cord for the majority of the hat, and then when I started decreasing, I switched to a 32-inch cable and did it magic loop at the top. The decreases are in 4 sections and they kind of form this spiral shape at the top. Pretty standard beanie decreases actually. But yeah, I definitely recommend this pattern. Actually, one of you guys suggested this pattern to me and left it in a comment when I was wondering what to make my dad for Christmas. And I thought it was a really great suggestion, so thank you. And this pattern also comes with a matching cowl, which would be fun. It would be fun to make both. Maybe I'll make my nephew the matching cowl for next year. So again, simple beanie with a little bit of interest added. I recommend it. It was a nice quick gift knit. That is my only finished object this week. I'm pretty close on a couple other projects, but didn't quite make the cutoff. So they will remain in the works in progress section. So the first work in progress that I have to show you is actually a vanilla sock. I've showed this before. This is the finished one. I just wanted to show you what that looks like. This is Cascade Prints yarn. It's a self-striping, and I love self-striping yarns. They make any sock project look much more impressive than they actually are. I'm nearly finished with the other sock. I'll show that to you. So I work my socks top down. This one has a 10 row twisted rib, 1x1 twisted rib at the top. And then the leg. I used the Hermione's Everyday heel for this pattern, as well as the gusset on the side. And I'm actually almost to the toe on this one, so I'm really close for these being finished. 56 stitches, just a vanilla sock. So 56 stitch cast on, Hermione's Everyday heel, and then I'll also use the toe from that pattern just because it's easy and it's open up on my computer, so I'll just use that. And soon I will have a matching set. It's so funny. This looks a lot smaller because it's not on blockers, but they're the same size. Anyway, I'm using Addy Turbo 9-inch circulars, and I had spoken about being in the Magic Loop camp. Well, actually, I first spoke about being in the 9-inch circular camp, then I talked about being in the Magic Loop camp. And now I just don't know. I'm between the two. I really do enjoy both construction. I like having the choice, and I like being able to work on a couple of different sock projects at once. So I am glad that I have grown to like both methods. When I first started sock knitting, I did the 9-inch circular, and I found it I would just get like cramps in my hand right here. Until I realized I needed to kind of tuck my pinkies in rather than having my pinkies on the needles too, because the needles, I mean, the needles are very, very short. This is where the cord starts, so they're maybe 2 inches long. So trying to get all of your fingers on this maybe 2-inch long needle is just not comfortable. So I adjusted and started tucking my pinkies back behind the work, and it you still kind of get the leverage of the pinky, but without that crampiness in the hand. So when I figured that out, I really enjoyed the 9-inch circular sock construction method a lot more. But I also really like Magic Loop, which brings me to my next project, which you've also seen before. The Fine and Dandy Socks by Jessica Gore. I'll bring those in so you can see this really cute kind of flower construction that continues all the way around on the top and then is only on the instep, and it's a vanilla sole on the bottom. This is a work in progress. I've made some progress on the second sock. Just a little bit, but enough to mention. I've got, a little bit more to go before I put the heel in here, and I'm using what am I using? I'm using the heels from the Collie Wobbles pattern, and that utilizes a bottom of the heel gusset. I talked about this last time, that instead of getting the gusset stitches right here, you get them the bottom of the heel, which creates a little kind of like a V shape on the bottom of your heel. I really like the way that looks. It gives you a really nice clean line on the sock. You don't have that gusset interrupting the stitches, and it really kind of shows off the nice smooth stockinette vanilla stitches when there's no gusset there. This is my hand-dyed yarn. This is in the Lulu colorway, and this base is actually my MCN base, so merino cashmere nylon. These socks are for my grandma for Christmas, so she gets some extra special, very soft socks. And yeah, so I am doing these magic loop. I have a ChiaoGoo red lace cable. I've heard a lot of people say that this cable, they don't like to magic loop with it. I like it. One thing I will say is that it does kink if you bend it too drastically. I have a couple of little where you can feel that it was bent too drastically, but it doesn't get in the way. It doesn't, you can't tell when you're readjusting the stitches when you're knitting, so it doesn't really bother me. And I don't really find this cable too stiff to magic loop with, excuse me. So yeah, it works for me. I use a size 1, US size 1 for both the 9-inch circular and the magic loop method. And this is actually a 64-inch sock, a little bit bigger than the other one, but it's the same 1x1 twisted rib, 10 rows of 1x1 twisted rib. I think that's focusing. I hope so. This is my little charm that I made, a little pearl. Meep. Cute. So those are my 2 sock projects in progress. I imagine I will finish this one tonight, which is very exciting. It is also a gift, so that will be nice to be able to check that off the list as well. And my last work in progress is actually not a gift. It's for me. And I will get that out here. It is the Half Moon Oracle Shawl by Kristen Lehrer. I love, 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 love this pattern. It's so beautiful. Here we go. I'll show you my progress here. So I believe last podcast I was, yep, here's my progress keeper. So I was 1, 2, 3 sections in. I have added 1, 2, and then I'm in the lace of the 3rd. So I'm actually in the last lace section. My needles don't stretch long enough to show you how wide it is, but I'm in the last lace section with this pink down here, and I'm actually finished with chart A. So the lace section at the bottom has a lace chart A and a chart B. I'm about to start the chart B, and then once I'm done with the chart B, it's an I-cord bind off and I'm finished. So the I-cord bind off will be in this blue color, and I just really, really have enjoyed making this. I had a little bit of trouble in this brioche section. So the way the pattern is written is you start here with an I-cord cast on, and then there's kind of a stockinette, very, very simple lace section to start. Then you go into a brioche section with color A and B. You drop color A and you do a lace section in color B, which could use a nice blocking, but you can kind of get an idea. It's just like a chevron lace pattern. You drop color, no, you keep going with color B and join color C for a brioche section. And then you drop both colors, do a lace section with color A, which is again that chevron lace pattern. You can see that a little bit better with the light color here. And then you brioche again with color A and B, but you flip the color so that the dark color is primary and the light color is secondary, or color B is primary, color A is secondary. And then you do a lace section with color C, and I-cord bind off with color B. So it's pretty involved. It's a, I would say probably intermediate difficulty rating. I had some trouble in this brioche section. I have only made one other brioche project, and it's actually peeping out right here. Meep, meep. The Andrea Mowry Rambler shawl. I love that shawl. Anyway, so I'm not that experienced with brioche, and I had dropped the shawl of the brioche stitch. I think I noticed like two places where I had done that. I did it also up here. I showed this last time where I dropped the shawl of the stitch, and so it just kind of cuts across. This one is here to stay. But I did it 2 more times down here, and it was really bothering me, and I hadn't gotten to the lace section. So when I noticed it up here, I had already done the lace, and there was no way I was going to rip out the lace and fix that, so it remains. But I noticed it down here before I got to the lace, and I didn't want this to be ridden with mistakes. I really love this shawl. I think it's beautiful, so I wanted to take the time to fix it. So I found a YouTube video that kind of walked me through how to ladder up the stitches. I had always heard like fixing brioche is really hard and it's scary and blah, blah, blah. So I was nervous to do it, but it's actually really similar to fixing a knit. If you know how to turn a purl stitch into a knit stitch by dropping it down and then laddering it back up, it's really similar to that. You just have to know how to kind of weave in and out of the other secondary stitch or the primary stitch, depending on what side you're on. So if that makes no sense to you, I will link to a video that I watched that was really helpful for me. You just use a crochet hook to kind of ladder the stitches back up. I did that and I fixed both of them, and it was actually on this side, and you can't see where I did that at all. So I'm very pleased with that. And then I went on to the lace section with the white color, and I started, and it's a 4-row repeat. I don't want to give too much away, but it's a 4-row repeat, and I got to the 4th row, and my stitches, I got to the end of the row, and my stitches were wrong. Like I had too many stitches left or not enough or something. So I was trying to figure out where the mistake was, and I just couldn't figure out where it was. I realized that I had the wrong number of stitches. So I went back and picked up right here, the end of the brioche row, picked it up, and then ripped out the lace and started again. Well, I got to row 4 and the same thing happened, and I was so frustrated by this time. I was like, okay, what could possibly be going on? And then I decided to actually count my stitches, because Kristen is a brilliant pattern writer and really lays it out and gives you at each beginning section, here's the number of stitches you should have. Well, utilize that. I don't know why. I was like, oh yes, I'm positive I have all the right stitches here. I don't need to count. I needed to count. And I figured it out. I had missed a couple of yarn overs or something in my increase row, and was I had to fail at the lace because I didn't have the right amount of stitches. So once I figured that out, I was able to be successful in the lace, and there are no mistakes, which is so nice and pleasing. And then when I got to this brioche section, I apparently had enough practice. I got all the way through without dropping any of the stitches. And now I'm on the last lace section, and I counted the stitches before I started that lace section, which was very helpful. And so I just have that last chart to go. I don't remember how many times we do that chart, maybe 3. So that would be, I think it's 3. So maybe, I don't know, maybe 2. So maybe 6 more rows to go before the I-cord bind off. So excited. I've never done an I-cord bind off. I've only done an applied I-cord edging and of course I-cord, but I've never done the I-cord bind off. I know it's really involved. It has like 5 steps, I think, maybe more. I don't know, but it's going to be worth it. It's going to be so beautiful because you do the I-cord edging as you go on this shawl. So the edge is in I-cord, which makes a really nice smooth edge. That's one of my, I don't love that about shawls, was when the edge doesn't always look great. So I love this I-cord edging. It's nice and stretchy, but also keeps it nice and structured. So I think it's going to be such a beautiful finished project. I am so excited that I decided to do that. The yarn is mine. The color A is actually my undyed Stellina. I don't think you're going to be able to, you can kind of see some of the Stellina. It's gold Stellina. Then it goes into color B, which is the Peter colorway. And then color C is actually the Lulu colorway again. And I just love the way that they all look together. It's really very exciting. So I believe that is it for my works in progress. So I will move along to my acquisitions. I have acquired quite a few things. My local yarn shop has an event every year called Hand Dyed Holiday. Now, I just moved back to town. I live in the town that I grew up in, and when I grew up here, there was not a local yarn shop. And so when I moved back to town, it was very exciting that we had since gained a local yarn shop. And there's great selection. I really love going there. So actually, we have 2. Yeah, I think we have 2 yarn shops, which is really cool and exciting for a town this size. So the one that I go to most often has this event called Hand Dyed Holiday, and it is just as beautiful and glorious as it sounds. The owner, gets like hundreds of hand-dyed skeins delivered to the store, and she displays them, and it's just kind of a really exciting event. And it just so happened that it fell on my birthday this year. So I told the owner, I was like, it's my birthday. It was so nice of you to have this event for my birthday. And she was like, well, you'll have to schedule your birthday for the first Saturday of every December. So, needless to say, I got quite a few things at Hand Dyed Holiday this year. I will start the show and tell. Leading Men Fiber Arts is a fellow Illinois, actually it's two guys, so they're fellow Illinois natives. And there was a big feature of their yarn at the Hand Dyed Holiday, and in fact, Steve from Leading Men Fiber Arts was there. And so I got quite a few of their yarns. This is their Spotlight base, which is 80% superwash BFL, 20% nylon in a fingering weight. The colorway is Sprightly Endeavors. Oh my goodness, it's so pretty. It is like the perfect seafoam green color with little hints of taupe in there. This is their label. And in the back, they handwrite their colorways, which I really like. So this is actually my first BFL base, and I wasn't really quite sure what to expect before I had felt a BFL base. You know, I was aware that it was a bit more of a rustic feeling yarn than Superwash Merino, but it's not like super rustic. I have some yarn right here. This is like a farm yarn from Montana. This is like a super rustic wool, you know, the woolen spun and that kind of deal. So it's not quite as toothy feeling as that, but it's definitely, you know, a little bit more sturdy feeling than all my merino yarns that I'm used to working with. So there's that. I don't know what that will be. Likely a pair of socks, since it seems like I'm heading towards that rabbit hole. The next skein is also a Leading Men Fiber Arts in a soft baby blue. And this is their Show Stealer base, which is 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon fingering weight. And the colorway is Old Blue Eyes. It is very, very beautiful. Their dye work is really awesome. I love tonals. I know, I like speckles are great. Speckles are so hot right now. I love speckles, but I love tonals so much. I don't think you can go wrong. And originally I didn't really know what I would do with this, but my husband pointed out that I needed to have a hat for myself in this color because they brings out my blue eyes. So I don't know, maybe. I don't usually wear this color, to be honest. Like, I don't know what drew me to this other than it's beautiful. So I'll have to think about what I want to do with that. I don't know. And you don't have to know. You can just let the yarn decide for you. The next one I have is, it's actually a Plymouth yarn and it's their Estilo hand dyed. This isn't an indie dyed skein, but it was there, so I like it and I got it. It is 80% superwash merino, 20% mulberry silk. Whoopsies. I'm just always very attracted to the cashmere and the silk yarns, and this next yarn that I'm going to show you too. It's insane. But anyway, this is Color 5 Gray Mix, I think is the name of the color. I love it. It's mostly undyed with black, like charcoal and black speckles. And my husband has already claimed this. I really don't make him very many things, to be honest. I should make him more things. But he wants his first pair of socks made out of this. So I'm going to do that for him, and then I'm going to pair it with, this is my yarn. It's the James colorway, which is my husband's name. So he'll get the heels and toes in the James colorway, and then this as the main color of the sock. But he's aware that that will not be occurring until after Christmas. Oh. Okay, this last acquisition I actually got 2 skeins of. This is another Leading Men Fiber Arts. They debuted a new base. So if you're familiar with their yarns, they have a new base that is 65% superwash merino, 20% silk, 15% yak. The yak makes the dyes so rich, and the silk gives them kind of a sheen. It's their Monologue is their new base name, and the colorway I got is called Copper Cloud. Oh my God. It is so beautiful. So you can see how like rich and beautiful the color is, and then there is just a bit of a sheen. So I'll give you a comparison. This is the well, the BFL kind of sheens also. So this is the merino cashmere nylon base, and you can kind of see the difference in the depth of color and the sheen. I hope that's picking up on camera. But anyway, I had to get 2 skeins of this because I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but it's going to be something quite wonderful. I may be able to do like a small sweater or something, because the yardage is really generous. It's 523 yards per skein. So that's quite a bit of yardage to work with. I have a couple of projects on my Ravelry saved that this may work for, but oh my God, I'm just so excited. I love this colorway. I love the base. I've never knit with yak before, so that's going to be really, really exciting. It feels similar to the cashmere, I have to be honest. Like I don't know, the cashmere is probably softer. But the yak is like, it's very, very soft. And it's a single ply, so that's definitely something to consider. You know, the single plies tend to pill. It's just kind of the nature of the single ply. And also why I'm requesting a gleaner for Christmas. Oh goodness. Always looking for knitting types of gifts. So that is, oh no, that's not it for my acquisitions. One of them, this acquisition you actually already saw but may not know that it's new. It is the sock blockers that I gotten. I'll take this sock off so you can see them. Oh my God, guys, these are handmade by a guy named Alex. His Etsy shop is called what? Alex Workshops Designs. And I will link to his shop on Etsy because, you guys, these are so beautifully made. They are wooden, obviously, and he hand cuts these hearts out of the wood and then hand sands the edges down so that they're like beautifully rounded. And there's some sort of lacquer on here, and so it's like extremely smooth. The socks slide on and off, and I got a size medium. I wear a size 6.5, so that would actually fall in the size small. I think the size small is like a maybe size 5 to 7 US, and the size medium is 7 to 9. So I did decide to get the mediums because I figured, you know, if I'm making socks for other people, most people have somewhere between 7 and 9 that people in my family do. You know, some of them have bigger feet, some of them, I don't know if anybody has smaller than size 7 besides me. I don't think so. So most of them have 7 or larger. So I figured these would be the most versatile. You know, they don't need to be exactly the size of your foot because I'm using them more for display purposes and picture purposes rather than actually blocking my socks. I'll be honest, I don't block socks. They're going on my feet. I don't find the need. But if I decided to block socks, I now have these sock blockers. But I'm going to have to find a way to hang them. Obviously, they have the hole up here and are intended to be hung because they're beautiful. I mean, they are works of art. My husband got these for my birthday for me, and he did really well. I love them so much. So they ship from the Ukraine. They are made to, what is it? Not made to order. I think it is, yeah, is that what that means? You order it and then he makes them. They're not pre-made. So, so you place the order and he makes them, and then they ship from the Ukraine. So depending on where you are in the world, that can, take some time. I would say, I believe my husband placed the order for these on November 2nd, and then they arrived today, which is December 5th. So plan accordingly. If you need these for a certain event or a certain thing, then give plenty of time for them to arrive. That being said, they're worth the wait because the quality of these sock blockers is, I'm so excited and so happy for them. When I opened them, I was like, those look so big. I was really not expecting them to be this big. I've seen pictures of other people with wooden sock blockers, and, it's just the sock blocker in the picture, so you don't have a lot of, reference for the size of them. But I did hold them up to my foot, and they are about, they're about the same size as my foot. So who knew? I guess when you flatten out a foot, it is much bigger than what you thought. But I'm used to seeing a sock off of the blocker, and it's quite a bit smaller. So anyway, I love, love, love this gift. I'm so excited. I'm probably going to flood my Instagram with my 3 pairs of knitted socks because I'm kind of a relatively new sock knitter, but now I'm going to be an old pro. My final acquisition is actually a tool, and backstory before I show you this. I have a hand-dyed yarn business, and I skein the hanks, or put the yarn into hanks by hand. This can sometimes irritate my wrist. I do, a lot of knitting. I type on a keyboard, so I don't think I have carpal tunnel, but I am also cognizant of the fact that I could acquire that. So I want to be very mindful of that, and so I try to use my left hand more, even though I'm right-handed, and that kind of thing. I was watching the Christy Glass podcast, and she did an interview with a mill, and I don't remember the name of the mill. It is, I'll put it right here. And they had this tool where they took the skein of yarn, they put it on a hook up here, and then they had this winder that twisted the skein up, so that what you usually do by hand, and then you can twist it into a hank. It was so captivating to me. I thought it was so interesting that I went to my dad, who is a builder, so he's a carpenter, builds houses, and also just a generally crafty person. And I told him about this, and I showed him the little video, and also showed him how I do it by hand so that he knew kind of what the process is, what the goal is with the yarn, and said, I asked him if he could make me something. So right off the bat, he was like, no, I don't know how to do that. And so I was like, well, you'll think about it. And it worked, because he went up into his garage and found, I'll just show you. He found this. This is an antique, ignore the hook part. This is an antique drill. So you would put a drill bit here. If you know anything about power drills, they look a little similar to that. And then you would, put it down into the wood and then crank, and you can see the bottom is turning. My dad repurposed it. This is a ladder hook, just a hook that screws in and you can hang ladders or whatever from it. And he put it into the drill bit. You hook the yarn onto, a stabilized hook or whatever, and then you can turn it And it twists the yarn. You guys, it's amazing and it looks so awesome. I love the gears here. I love the way that this looks old, and I love the story. This was his grandfather's, so my great-grandfather's drill that he has repurposed, and it even says made in the USA. And then this part is actually not useful for me, but I think it's so cool. They would store the drill bits down here in the bottom. So you can put the one you're not using down in the bottom and then put the little lid on it. It's so awesome. I love it so much. It's so cool. So excited. So this was another birthday gift / acquisition that I just had to share. So I think that is actually it for all of my acquisitions, all of my projects. I'll just kind of chat with you about what's going on in my life, that my birthday gift. So my birthday was this past weekend, and my husband and I went out to eat with my family, and so Friday we went over to my mom's house and celebrated there. She cooked my favorite food and chocolate cake for me. And then Saturday, what did we do Saturday? I went to a yoga class, which was amazing. My mom and I went to the Hand-Dyed Holiday, which is where I got all of that yarn. And then in the evening, we went out to eat with my dad's side of the family and kind of just got to see everybody. It was really, really a great weekend. It's funny because I'm 29, I turned 29, and my birthdays are starting to, be less crazy, and not that they were ever that crazy, but they're just more mild now, and I'm completely happy about that and completely content. So obviously I'm progressing in age and maturity. I'm so mature now. That's what I would like to tell you, is how mature I am. But it was a nice celebration, and now my birthday, is at the beginning of December. It's always kind of the kickoff of the Christmas season, and it definitely feels like the Christmas season now. I'm enjoying watching all of the podcasters do Vlogmas. I'm watching Molly of A Homespun House. I love her Vlogmas so much. It's so cozy. I love seeing the way her family interacts. It's just so really, really awesome. I'm watching Kristen of Woolenvine. She's getting a few Vlogmases out there, and they're lovely. I love seeing her her dyeing process in the day-to-day. It's really very cool. I love how she shares that. And what other Vlogmases am I watching? Brooklyn Knit Folk. I used to live in New York, and so I love her podcasts because she shows a lot of the city, and it's really, really kind of nice and makes me feel nostalgic for New York. So I like watching her as well. I know that there are other Vlogmases that I'm watching, but those are the only ones that are coming to me. Anyway, it's so nice to see those and to really get into the Christmas spirit, and as well as be reminded that I only have a couple of weeks left to finish my Christmas gift knitting. I have 5 more projects to make, which sounds like a lot, but they're all very small. It's like hat projects that I can kind of bang out in a day or so. Ooh, getting down to the wire. So I definitely need to focus and do that. I have a couple of days off work. I took Monday and Tuesday off of work. Not necessarily to knit, although that is what I will be doing. I had just acquired enough or accumulated enough time, PTO, at work, so I wanted to take some time off before the holidays and kind of just relax and hang out with my husband and knit and just have a staycation, a knitcation, as Christina Bullenvine says. So yeah, that'll be Monday and Tuesday. I'm excited for that. And that is kind of it for what's going on with me and all of that. So thank you so much for watching. I would love it if you would go on over to the Ravelry group or find me on Instagram and let me know what you think. Let me know if you like what I'm making. Don't let me know that. I hope you like what I'm making, but I like what I'm making, so that's what matters. And I hope you like what you're making. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye. Back or front? Back and front. Don't light your hair on fire.